Hello everybody and welcome back to Leilani of Colombia. The Colombia tour is finally over and I present to you the most embarrassing moments. Inappropriate smooching, touching, wardrobe malfunctions, and to top it all off, fake Espanol. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the wardrobe malfunction, the nip slip. People were furious. They were saying, why on earth does she dress like this? Why does she behave like this? And there's a comment here. Someone said about the nip slip, well, we got lucky. It was only one. The other 7 are still covered. Dog emoji. Who let the dogs out? Okay, let's move on. We have this clip of when they first arrived in Colombia. Now, I was always saying that Meghan is very uncomfortable with Harry touching or hugging or embracing or greeting any other women. So we see here that he walks in with her, makes eye contact with the Vice President, Francia, and he goes in to hug. Look at Meghan. She backs up and stares at him. She gives him the glare as if to say, who do you think you are? Now, that is Francia's partner. He is obviously out of Francia's league. We're going to talk a little bit about Francia later. But anyway, he's kind of being targeted by Meghan, as you can see here in the next clip, which is super embarrassing because it almost turned into a brawl, girl. You have to look at this really carefully here. Meghan comes, she makes a beeline for good-looking partner of Francia, grabs him up. Francia swings around and notices and then puts herself in front of him as a guard, and she's leaning back on him. Harry's grabbed onto Meghan's hand. This is the image of Francia's man kissing Meghan that Francia saw from across the aisle that made her bolt across and get in between Meghan and this man. I have heard from my subscribers in Colombia. They are super angry and upset. They're angry on all kinds of levels. The disrespect, the dishonor, the confusion, the wrong messages being sent all the way around. And now when you look at this picture, you have to say to yourself, is it feral? Is she feral? Is she a beast? Like, what is she? You can't take her anywhere. And this man is not very experienced. He's just supposed to sit there and look cute, you know, with his diamonds and his ears. And Francia, who was an ex-cleaner, and we're going to get into her whole history and her rise. But she did not reach to this point in her life where she could get cute man like him and Meghan can come and just take him from her. No, sirree. I don't think that Meghan knows how to relate to men in any other way than an S way. She doesn't know how to be anything but flirtatious. That's the only contribution she has to men. And it's so inappropriate. It's sad because probably is trying to vie for some kind of diplomatic position in any country at this point that could give her all the security and all the things that she really wants and cannot pay for. I know that diplomats have to be trained and everything. I think she's untrainable. She can't even keep herself together. She can't even stop. She's staring even at children. It's creepy. If that was my son in that sweater, that navy blue sweater, I would be like, why is this grown 40-odd-year-old woman looking at my son now? Oh, it's just repulsive. And then you see she gets very upset and they're both extremely on edge. I don't know what it is in the water in Colombia that's making them so hype and on edge. Meghan's trying to talk, Harry's trying to talk at the same time. She's there like, I'm talking right now. I don't like when people talk like this. It's not a time to have your hands as prayer. You know what I mean? This whole interaction between them is very embarrassing. Except, of course, for when they're cosplaying as William and Catherine. Or is that even more embarrassing? I'm not sure. So as far as wardrobe malfunctions, we have another wardrobe malfunction here with the sweating. Meghan is not used to the humidity. She does not know what she's doing. These are two completely different materials that should never see each other. And she's sweating and looking like she had an accident. I mean, girl. We also have this meme about Meghan's feet. Of course, they always look large because she always wears long foot shoes, is what I always say. But actually, I realized that she's going to claim that she is 43% coot bird of Colombia. It is indigenous and it has especially long feet. She's 43% coot bird. Before we get into the Spanish part, because I want to cover a little bit about the Vice President Francia. So here we have Vice President who has invited Harry and Meghan to Colombia, is an ex-cleaner who is demanding billions from the West to make up for slavery and was targeted by assassins. What do you want first? The bad news or the good news? The bad news is that Miss Marquez has been Markle. Because she brought the Meghan Markle there and Harry there, whenever anybody invites them anywhere, of course, there's a lot of speculation who's paid for what, how much has been spent. You have reports of the visit has cost Colombia 3,000 police officers and $2 million so far. So whenever Meghan and Harry go to a country, it digs up a lot of dirt on the country because people want to know what is the profit, what is the loss. Her cultural tour of Colombia, which happens every year in August, and then Meghan and Harry were just invited along, by the way, it seemed, has now been reduced to her. Now get this. Francia Marquez expects Meghan Markle to get their international debt, their debt that they owe America, borrowing money from America, written off. This is a two-pronged thing. So first of all, she wants Meghan Markle as a black woman and a woman that would understand their culture and everything that's happening. She expects Meghan Markle to go back to America and ask a government official to release them of their debt to America. The second part that is bad news is that Marquez thinks that America is responsible for, first of all, the idea of slavery, which Colombia went through, the environmental atrocities such as like global warming and all that, that's America's fault too, and also racism. Yeah, they started racism. The whole idea of racism, America started that. So since Colombia has people who have been affected by those events in history and are still now suffering from those events, Marquez thinks that America should take responsibility and relieve them of their debt. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, when you think about that is, if she's asking for reparations, surely she should ask for reparations from Spain, like Jamaica's asking from England, Haiti's asking from France, whatever. Secondly, you think, who said that America invented racism or slavery? From what I remember, America was behind everybody else in the colonies that had slavery going on and sugar plantations going on. I don't know if she's too young to know that. I'm not sure how she missed that memo. Thirdly, or fourthly, I don't even know where I am right now, but seriously, it's a lot to unpack. Did she know that Gavin Newsom changed his number so that Meghan Markle could stop calling him allegedly for legal purposes? There's nobody in government that Meghan Markle can talk to get stuff done for you, especially erasing national debt. And fifthly, or whatever, you know, I think America had to spend a lot of money too to keep the trafficking of illegal substances out of America. When those planes left Colombia, nobody checked them. When they came into Miami, they had a whole system in Miami. I don't know if you remember in the 80s and 90s how in Miami International Airport, everybody had to be fired. They had to redo the whole airport because planes were just flying in, bringing in contraband. Miami International Airport was almost like a city in Colombia that was just transporting, things. I do think that America probably had to spend a lot of money to get forces together to redo everything, infrastructure and everything around keeping contraband out of America. So I don't think Colombia's gonna get it written off that easily. Anyway, that's just my political talk about that because I'm not into politics. You know me, I don't really do politics. Even me, who's a dum-dum about politics, I seem to know more than Francia Marquez about where slavery originated, where racism originated, and where global warming originated, and just simple facts about Colombia. I don't think she knows. This is why, although she seems like a really nice woman who's done very well for herself, coming from the mining towns, and she did a lot of work in the mine. By the way, this is the good news part. She did do a lot of work in the mining towns, and she did a lot of negotiations. She saved a lot of lives. There was illegal mining. Like I said, Colombia is a very country full of a lot of things going on there that are difficult to solve and resolve, and she was able to resolve the mining and stop the mercury from going in the water that fed her village. So when it comes to like her hometown and her people in her community, she's very good at moving and getting things done for them. But when it comes to like an outlook on the world, for her to think that Meghan Markle could help her erase the debt of Colombia is like, I think she has to look a little further. There's a lot of people she could have asked to come to Colombia to try to erase the debt, you might think. Me too, I thought that. I thought, if I was gonna look for somebody to help me, and I thought it has to be a woman of color, maybe I would ask Kamala Harris. Guess what she did? Prior to her election, she wrote the U.S. Vice President, now Democratic presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, in 2021 following the murder of George Floyd. "I am sure the majority of the people who voted for you and for President Biden did so in hope of taking the knee off the necks of African Americans in your country," Marquez wrote. "As Afro-Colombians and indigenous peoples, we suffer the same situation. Those who have imposed armed conflict, lethal politics, gender-based violence, structural racism, they keep their knees on our necks." The article says, unfortunately, Miss Harris did not write her back. Meghan Markle was just the consolation prize. Second choice, if you will. So let's go to the Spanish speech. Oh, okay. So this is the first speech where she wears just one translator headphone. But the whole time she's nodding along, it's like she doesn't really understand. Harry's wearing both headphones. And I was just wondering what happened to the translator, which is Green Pants Woman from my last video. Green Pants Woman, aka Harry's girlfriend, allegedly for legal purposes, is not present here. So they have the headphones in instead. I do know that she's the director of the Cultural Foundation, the Green Pants lady, but I just found that her and Harry were very comfortable, more than one would be with a prince and a director of a cultural company. Oh yeah, and then she says this line, "Meghan Markle begs cruel trolls to remember what your grandmother taught you." Okay, so she's talking about online bullies. Yeah, remember what your grandmother taught you. Well, I mean, my first reaction to that was my grandmother never had to tell me, if you don't have anything nice to say nothing at all. That's what she's referring to. My grandmother never had to tell me that because she never heard me say anything cruel as a child. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously Meghan was told that by somebody because she stayed being cruel. And of course, it's very ironic and shows you how dystopian this world is, that a white passing woman who's also a bully is in a country for the empowerment of black women and to stop bullying. And that's why we have to call it out, because we can't go to bed and sleep at night. I'm sorry, with this going on. We have to say something about it. With this amount of media attention, we have to say something about it. There are children here that are not happy to be around Meghan. This is torture for people. Harry is on a different vibe, dancing down the dirt road in the poor people place, just a dancing and a dancing. Like, I don't understand what that is. But you know what? It makes me happy that he's so happy, enjoying himself. So Meghan Markle sits on this platform with Marquez, just to put icing on the cake. We always wondered about her Spanish abilities, if she really can speak Spanish. First of all, Marquez is talking about atrocities once again, and she's actually talking about what she really knows about, which is her home village and how the illegal mining came and took over to take the natural resources, and they didn't care about the community. So they tried to divert the river, and somehow mercury got in the river, and actually the people in her community were passing away from mercury poisoning. And as she says that, and as Marquez is talking about that very emotional time in her community, Meghan Markle gets up and switches the fan over to her because somehow her body can't tolerate humidity of any kind. So she's in Cali. And it just reminded me of this meme that was on the internet for a while. Especially when I realized at the moment when she got up to do this was such an inappropriate time. Then she takes up the microphone and speaks in her Spanish. Now, I'm not going to go over this whole Spanish thing. Native speakers have said to me what I confirmed when I first heard it, which is, well, I first thought that the Spanish seemed very stilted and rehearsed and like she was learning a script. Like, she has learned script before, obviously. Not very well, but she learned the script. Also, I found the accent was all over the place. I couldn't tell if she was Castellano. I couldn't tell if she was Puerto Riqueño. I couldn't tell if she was like a hee. Like, I couldn't tell. It was like all over the place, but then also it was very like Google Translate. So very much like, I don't know. She used the wrong words a lot. There were grammatical errors. That was my first take on it. And I told you that my Spanish is rusty, but I do have Spanish education. So the verbs and the nouns and everything, some things were not agreeing, and I noticed that. And then at the end, she's so relieved. I mean, she literally is acting like an adolescent, like, I got it, I did it. This is a person who's supposed to be a member of the royal family, who's supposed to be an actress, who's supposed to be a 40-odd-year-old mother and woman and children, and How are you being so like, thank you. Woo. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to plug my friend's daughter's charity. She's just installed 9 dispensers in schools in Jamaica today. 9 different schools actually installing dispensers for sanitary products for women.
Joining us to speak about this initiative is founder of Empower Her Essence Foundation, Sereina.
So we install and we supply pads to low-income schools in Jamaica because 44% of young girls actually cannot afford to have the sanitary goods that they need, and 10% of young girls in Jamaica have to miss school every single week. So they're missing around 8 weeks of school because of something that's caused by nature. It's extremely unfair.
Yeah.
So I do fundraisers, bake sales, dress down days at my school so I can collect the money and buy the units.
It just goes to show that if you want to do something, you can. And if you want to donate to Sereina's Empower Her Essence Foundation, I will put the GoFundMe link in the description. She's more mature than Meghan Markle, and she's doing more for a country who needs help than Meghan Markle is. Meghan Markle came to Colombia once again with her 2 long hands and has absolutely given nothing, even though she's received many gifts, which people are wondering why. And then she does this like fake rehearsed thing with Harry where he also says, "Can you translate for me, Meghan?" And she's like, "I sure can," just like we practiced at the hotel.
Buenos noches, Cali. Buenas noches, Colombia. Muchas gracias, señora vicepresidenta. Can you help me translate?
Of course, claro que sí.
Thank you for your warm welcome.
Gracias por su cálida bienvenida.
Thank you for your beautiful culture.
Gracias por su cultura hermosa.
And thank you for your incredible hospitality.
Y mil gracias por su hospitalidad increíble. Me siento igual. Muchísimas gracias a todos y todas y disfruten la noche.
This is all Google Translate. Yeah, all right, that's basically it. That's my take on it. I have some more things to look at just in case I have to make another video, but love you so much, and you know that. And don't forget to subscribe, press the bell notifications, and like this video if you did like it. Love you. Bye.